Reprise de débat, the honourable member from Hamilton Mountain.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And first of all, I want to say this is my first speech in the House and that I'm making, and I want to thank the Hamilton Mountain residents for their support, as it's a privilege and an honor to be here. Starting, Madam Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague from Nanaimo, Ladysmith, for taking the leadership on this important motion. And I really want to say that I'm kind of disappointed that I'm standing here in my first speech talking about this issue, something that we're in the year of 2016 and we're still talking about equality for women. It's really very disappointing because it's something that should have been done years ago. I'm a former member of the United Steelworkers, where I was the president in Local 5328, and all through my life of doing collective bargaining, I know that we used to have what they called CWS, a cooperative wage study, where we made sure that all wages were fair for the equal work that you did, and it didn't matter if you're a man or a woman, you were going to get paid that rate for that type of work. And that was back in 1956 when that was implemented. And here we are in the year 2016, and we're having trouble with the federal government trying to implement the same change. Madam Speaker, as we all know, we heard very many other speakers today go through the stats of what we did. And I hear some of my colleagues from the Conservative MPs that stated that they're hurt because of what they did in 2009 and they feel it's an embarrassment. But it is the truth. Because when I look through the report, Canada ratified the United Nations International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights in 1976, and which requires the remuneration which provide all workers as a minimum with fair wages and equal remuneration for work of equal value without distinction of any kind. Also in 1981, Canada also ratified the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, and which recognizes women's right to equal remuneration, including benefits, and to equal treatment and respect of work of equal value, as well as equality of treatment and evaluation of the quality of work. But then I find out in 2009, a new act was implemented, and the Conservatives passed the Public Sector Equitable Compensation Act, which states they're forcing women to file individual complaints rather than allowing a union to support them. I don't see it anywhere in the 1981 ratification or in the 1976 ratification that to be applied. They also wanted the unions, they were making pay equity an issue for collective bargaining. Well, I kind of have a hard time understanding that when there's nothing in the 1976 and the 1981 ratifications that they agreed to. But what happens if you don't have a union? Madam Speaker, I also want to let you know I'll be splitting my time with the member for Churchill, Kiwatanuk-Aski. Sorry about that, I should have said that earlier. But go back to what happens if the unions or the public sector does not have a union? Do we just throw it out and say, well, this is your right, but you know what, go file a complaint? Why should they have to file a complaint? It should be the law. It is a right. It's not a gift given to you. It's kind of shameful that we have to go through this, but the positive side of it, I heard good remarks that the Liberals would like to support this motion, and I'm also hearing some positive remarks from the Conservatives that they would like to support it if they took some language out of there, but I'm not sure why they would have to. I mean, if they're going to support it for the good reasons, not to say my nose was hurt. But also, Madam Speaker, when I heard the Liberals saying that they would like to support this motion, they did in the year, well, starting in 2000, when they had the task force, and everything was implemented, and in 2004, there was 113 recommendations made. Under the former Liberal government at that time, they did not implement all of them. So it's nice for them to sit there and say they would support this motion, and I'm glad they are. But it's also important that they turn around and implement what the task force recommendations come back with.
Good point.
Madam Speaker, I have 3 daughters. They've all gone through university. And I think it's an injustice if I find that if they went to get a job and under the federal government and found out that because they're a girl, they would not be paid, or they may not be paid the same amount of wage as a man for the same job. That's an injustice to them. I also have a granddaughter and a grandson. So my message is to this House is, what kind of message are we sending to our children where we're teaching them to be fair to everybody in this country? Only to grow up to find out that there's fairness, that we've done a long way, but if you're a woman, you may be treated differently than a man when it comes down to working the same type of, and being paid differently from the same type of work. That's not the Canada I want.
Here, well said.
And that's not the type of children I want to raise. But I ask, Madam Speaker, it's also, this whole thing is discriminatory under the Canadian Human Rights Code. So why are we arguing it? It's under Section 11, where it states, for an employer, the Canadian Human Rights Act, for an employer to establish or maintain differences in wages between male and female employees in the same establishment who are performing work of equal value. That's under the Human Rights Code. You cannot do that. You can't pay them a different wage for the same amount for the same type of work. So if we could ask ourselves, could you imagine in this House, if we were doing the same thing, for all the women that are here as MPs, they would be paid less than the MPs for the men. There would be an outcry. We don't have to go and file a complaint. The law should be the law. I know in the province of Ontario and Quebec they have it. I believe that most of the other provinces will come along if we adopt this. It is 2016, as I said. Why isn't it done? It looks like we're going to have a great majority of people accepting this, but that's just for the task force or to get to start it out. But we have to implement. We got to stop this injustice, and I ask this House to, and all the parties, to unanimously endorse this without any kind of hesitation. We must move on. We got other things to do. And it's not that it's all happening across Canada. Some companies are very, very good. They pay already. But why is it some don't? And that's the question you got to ask ourselves. And I hope that we pass this unanimously. Thank you.
Well said.